Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Author's Chaos. I am D.L. Golden.
And I'm SF Rogers.
And today we are talking to the amazing Liz Shipton, friend of the podcast and fellow indie author. How you doing, Liz?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
Doing really good.
Getting back into the podcast, it's good to talk to a few people that we've talked to in the past. It has been about a year, we said, since we spoke to you last. What has been going on with you in the last year? What have you put out there?
Oh boy, okay. Let's see. So I had two of my indie series on the go, and both of those are actually complete now. So we were just talking before we started about how you get notifications on your Kindle all the time about new thing from Liz Shipton. That's probably because I put up a short story every month last year, basically, like for the whole of 2024. Every month I did a new spicy short, like fantasy or paranormal or sci-fi story. And that series is called Tales of Mischief and Fuckery. And that I finished it, wrapped it, I guess, in December, of last year, would have been the last month. And then I actually ended up launching that whole series as a complete special edition hardcover on Kickstarter in April, which we can totally talk about. It was amazing. I'm like drinking the Kickstarter Kool-Aid, and I'm a big, let's all do Kickstarter person now. And then I finished the Thoracic series, which was my dystopian series. I think I finished that in April of this year. The last book came out, and there's nine books in that, which is too many. But yeah, so that's all my indie stuff that's all kind of, been sort of chugging along. And then I had just signed, I think, when I talked to you guys last, a book deal for a trad book, and that now is coming out in August of this year. So all the publicity stuff is kind of starting to ramp up, which is really interesting because I've never done any of this really before, not with a publisher or even really by myself. I've been really bad at launching my own books. So for the first time, I'm really kind of ramping up publicity, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So you brought up Kickstarter. I've heard so many things about Kickstarter. I've never done one. So was that an intimidating thing to get started? Because it's people donating so that you can kickstart whatever, cover or whatever. How did you pull the trigger to do that?
It is really scary, for sure. Especially the project that I was doing, this series, Tales of Mischief and Fuckery. Can I say fuckery? Is that okay?
We haven't talked yet, so keep going.
I've already said it twice. So, so that series is pretty raunchy, and the Kickstarter idea I had for it was super raunchy with some very NSFW comic book art that I found this amazing artist who does these just insanely raunchy, ridiculous comic strips. So that, on top of it being my first Kickstarter, I was terrified. I was this isn't going to work. People are going to be totally weirded out by it. What is going to happen? There is a great community on Facebook, a group called Kickstarter for Authors that's run by Anthea Sharp. And she has tons of experience running Kickstarters. And all of the people in that group, I think there's maybe 7,000 or 8,000 people in the group. All of them are running Kickstarters on the regular, 3-4 times a year to launch books. So that's how they will launch their book. And then, maybe 3 months later, then they launch the retail edition. So you're funding the creation of the book with the Kickstarter, and that pays for, the cover art and the editing and any other character art or whatever that you want to get done. But it's interesting that you say donating, because it's not really that. Kickstarter's not like GoFundMe in the sense that people are donating to your project. What they're really doing is they are buying it.
Okay.
They're just buying it before it's been made. So they call it pledging, where basically they pledge an amount to get a certain reward. So in my Kickstarter, I had there was an ebook reward, and then there was a paperback reward, and then there was a hardcover, and then there was a bundle where you can get everything plus a t-shirt and some stickers and that kind of thing. And people on Kickstarter are like very used to this, and they like to pay more for like these fancy special editions or for like something weird like I did, where you're not going to necessarily find it anywhere else. So it's like a Kickstarter kind of special ecosystem of all these people who love supporting authors, who love buying these like kind of one-off special edition books. And the whole process was very, very positive. We funded at like $34,400 or something like that.
Wow.
Out of that, Kickstarter takes 10% or something, and then there's some amount of I don't know what the word is, finaglery with like people not quite making their purchases or whatever. But like all said and done, I think we walked away with 30 grand, and then out of that I pay basically to print and ship all of the books to the people who backed the Kickstarter. If that makes sense. So it's a very it's been a very intense process. I mean, I started thinking about this probably last year when I kind of had the idea for it, and then I started working on it at the beginning of this year, and we're still working on it, and we're gonna be continuing to like right now we have to get all the art printed, and then I have to format the book and kind of finish everything up and then ship it out to everybody. So by the time we're all done, it'll be like end of July probably. So it's a long process, and it's a very involved process, but I fully recommend trying it, giving it a go.
I love that idea. There's so many different routes you can take to getting stuff published, to getting character art, getting cover art, getting editors, stuff like that. And a lot of the times indie authors, it feels like, have a hard time coming up with the funds to do that kind of stuff, because most of us are working day jobs. Most of us are doing this in our spare time. And so I think Kickstarter is an awesome way to get that kind of stuff funded. And it's cool that you mentioned a place where you can kind of get used to that and get some help with what you're going to do there, because it sounds intimidating. It really, really does.
It is intimidating for sure. And like for me, especially because I've never really invested in my books up front. I've paid for like, so these covers, that I think were like $75 each, which is not a ton. I've done all my own editing. I've never had character art made. My covers for the like spicy version of my other series, like I made myself. So for me, investing up front to have art made and to have a cover made and to have all this stuff was terrifying, genuinely. But the Anthea Sharp, who runs this group, she has a book that you can read that will literally walk you through the whole process of like how to run one from beginning to end, which is great. I recommend it. I can't remember what the book is called right now, but maybe I'll email it to you guys afterwards. Yeah. And then you can go into this group that she runs, this Facebook group, and you can ask questions, and everyone there is very supportive. Everyone's very experienced, and they will help you make this happen.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I'm sure we could definitely use those links and stuff, because Sarah and I have discussed Kickstarter as options for trying to get second, third books out. And so we would greatly appreciate that information, I'm sure. Yes. And there's a lot of people around that I'm sure would.
Yeah, I'll send along everything. I'll send along everything I have. I'm like fully on board at this point. I'm like, yes, let's all do Kickstarter.
So just concerning like projects that you've put out, how many stories of Liz Shipton's exist like on the market right now that can be purchased? Just out of curiosity.
So including all of right now, I think it's 22, I believe. So there's 9 books in the Falafel series, and those are all like full length, pretty much books. And then there's 12 short stories that you can buy, all of them individually as ebooks, or you can buy them all together in this collection now that I just did on Kickstarter. So that's 21, and then /Magic is 22, and then my current work in progress is posting to Patreon every week. So I guess that's 23, but that one's not quite done. So,
so just a few is what you're saying.
Just a lot.
So here's the funny thing. We interview you, right? I'm like, she's so cool. We absolutely love her. And then I start seeing the cinnamon videos. And I was like, this is hilarious. So the other day I was telling somebody, I was like, hey, you should come watch the podcast. We're interviewing Liz Shipton. And he was like, I don't know who that is. And I was like, oh, she like types and describes characters, and he's like, I know the typing, girl, I will be there. I was like, okay, so that viral moment where you're all of a sudden everybody knows you as like, he smells of this and cinnamon. Like, how did you handle that? Because that's what, like, I feel like that could take away from your books if that's all people are looking for, those cinnamon videos.
Totally. So that's so funny that you say that, because that is exactly what happened. So I like went super viral with these videos, and in my mind at that time, knowing nothing, I was like, great, I've made it. No more work needs to be done. Wonderful, I'm super famous now. Easy peasy from here on out. And it was not like that at all. So I continued to post those videos, like, and I still am posting them, and sometimes they'll go, I don't know, into like the high hundreds of thousands. I don't think any of them have gone quite as big as they did in the beginning. But like, what I realized over the course of like last year was that those videos, although they are selling books and people do find me that way, and some people do see those videos and then they go on to find my books, and then, you know, they get all into my mailing list and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people just see the videos and don't even know that I have books, because I don't talk about the books at all in the videos. And it took me way too long to kind of figure that out, that I also needed to be doing what I'm doing now, which is continuing to talk about my books. Like, you have to actually talk about your books in videos, or people won't know that you have them, which seems so obvious, but I didn't really get it. So yes, it got very frustrating sort of around the end of last year, when I was sort of realizing that like my sales are not good, even though I have so many followers and so many, I'm like generating, the other thing that was really frustrating about it is I'm generating millions of views for these apps, but because my TikTok account, because I'm not in the United States, I established the account in Mexico, I don't qualify for the creator fund, so I make nothing on those videos. Instagram also doesn't pay anything for their videos. Facebook does a little bit. So it's like, I'm like, and those videos are not super easy to produce. Like, I have to write a script, and I have to film it, and then I have to edit the sound, and then I have to cut it all together. And it's like a fairly large amount of work for essentially $0. No, like what I was getting from it at the end of last year. It did get me in front of my agent, so that was definitely a huge bonus. And she got me my book deal, and then the publishers knew me from that as well. So obviously, like, there's major benefits to it. But yeah, it was a really frustrating experience to kind of realize that, like, these videos, everyone loves them, but they don't necessarily care about my books.
Right.
Yeah.
That's got to be a really odd situation. When we talk about marketing books, and this is the part that every author struggles with, is actually marketing the book after you get it out there. I feel like writing the book and even editing the book is actually not all that gargantuan a task if you love what you're doing. But actually marketing it and selling it to people is really difficult. Sarah and I have noticed that we sell really well in person, but online our sales are just, they're stagnant. They don't move very much. How do you sell most of your books? Are you mostly online sales, or do you do in-person events and things like that?
I can't really do in-person events just because of I'm in the Caribbean on a boat, and it's like really a bit expensive. I did do one in-person event last year. I was invited to go to a book fair called the Awkward Nerd Book Fair, which was in Milwaukee. It was super fun. I had a great time. They put me up in a hotel room for one night, which was amazing. And like, they wanted me there because they'd seen my videos basically. And I sold really well. I sold out of all my books. I wish I had taken more. That would have been great. However, because the event was like fairly small, and because I had to pay for a flight to get there, I didn't end up breaking even. So from that point on, it was like, I just can't really afford to do it. As fun as it is, and as great as it is, and as much as I would love to be in person and meet people, and like how much fun it was to sell my books in person, I just can't really do it. So yeah, all of my sales are coming from online, mostly from Amazon, I would say, like KU page reads and downloads of either the ebook or the paperbacks. And then the Kickstarter, obviously, was pretty huge in the beginning of this year. And then I get through my online shop. I have a direct sales shop as well. And I actually, that's like doing pretty well. It went pretty stagnant last year, but now it's like not generating massive income, but it's like steadily pulling in income like every other day or so, something like that.
Yeah, well, I was kind of curious how you could possibly do in-person events. I knew about your like residence situation where you're out on a boat and it makes it a little bit difficult for people to physically get to you. So I was definitely curious.
There's just a lot of water, Daniel. It's just water.
A lot of water in the way, yes.
So tell us about TradPub and /magic, because I am super interested in hearing about that. I get your newsletter. I think I'm following you on Patreon. I'm on your Discord, all the things. So like talk about /magic.
This is great. I actually haven't talked about this. I just realized as I was like joining this live, I was like, I haven't talked about /magic like to anyone officially yet, so I don't have like a little spiel like ready. So I'm gonna put it together in real time here. So the book is about basically a coder / like digital nomad type person in her mid-20s who goes back to community college in San Diego and discovers a secret underground magical society, discovers that she also has magic, and then because she's a coder, she ends up accidentally inventing a magic AI assistant that lives in her smartwatch and like talks to her, and it's kind of your classic like, you know, little sidekick assistant type thing. And then obviously, you know, mayhem ensues, someone gets murdered, actually 2 people get murdered, all these monsters start appearing. No one knows what's going on. People are blaming her, but she thinks someone is trying to frame her. And then there's like a massive plot twist at the end that I can't tell you anything about, but it's pretty great. How was that? Was that a good spiel?
That was pretty good, yeah. That's pretty snappy for something you threw together on the fly.
It comes out in August, right?
Yes, that's also good to mention. It's available to pre-order right now. Through Angry Robot Books. So Angry Robot is the publisher. They're based in the UK. And you can order it through all the usual channels, you know, Amazon and whatever, and their website. And yeah, August 19th is when it comes out.
I am so excited for you. Like, I know your heart is with us indie authors, and like, it's not, you being trad published won't like put you in this place where you're not willing to talk to us, but I'm like so happy for you. Like, that's the dream, right? To like have that one, like someone give you the time of day to like trad publish your book and like get it out there.
I would say it feels good, right? To have someone say, yes, this is a good book and we would like to publish it. Just in terms of like validating that, yeah, you can write. That's great. That's nice to know. But also I'm like very aware of the fact that, like, especially these days, getting a publishing deal doesn't necessarily guarantee you any measure of success. It does give you access to a lot of things that you don't have as an indie author. So like the distribution channels that Angry Robot is able to push my book through are some things that I would not have access to on my own. They're able to like pitch me to some like media opportunities that I probably wouldn't get on my own, like guest blog posts and that kind of thing. And yeah, like help me with publicity. So that is awesome. But there's no guarantee that necessarily means anything, right? Like, because these days it sort of feels like the only guarantee of success for a book is if it goes viral on TikTok or not. So that's like, I'm still at the moment just like, all right, well, I got to figure out how to make this book go viral. So I'm like still testing hooks and posting videos and doing all the same stuff I would do, you know, for an indie book. Because like that's really probably what is going to drive the most like pre-orders and the most sales are those like indie techniques.
Right. Yeah. And that's the one thing about like this crash course in your like publishing your first and second books is like, okay, so this didn't work, so we're gonna pivot and we'll go this way.
Yeah, I do. I'm really grateful that I had written so many indie books before this one, because first of all, my writing is so much better. This book is like actually well written to the point that I'm like, I actually want people to read this one. Whereas like the Tholastic series now, I'm like, oh God, don't read Salt. Like, just please don't read it. It's not.
I loved Salt. I absolutely adored that story. I read it. I sat down and just like couldn't put it down. I loved it. So don't.
It's great, but it's I mean, you are your own worst critic, right? Like,
Yes.
so there's that. There's the fact that I had written like 22 or 29 books and 12 short stories or whatever before I wrote /magic. And you can definitely, or I can at least, if I read Salt and then I read through everything else that I've written since then, I'm like, oh yeah, this gets progressively better and better, which is great. And then, yeah, there's also the fact that I kind of came into this like trad publishing thing with a little bit of experience in terms of like, you know, publicity and marketing. Not a ton. I'm not great at it compared to a lot of people. A lot of people are selling way better than I am, but I do have like sort of an idea of what works, and I'm hoping that will like push us.
Yes.
Well, and speaking of Salt, I think when we talked to you the first time, we were talking about this series and how you were doing a clean and a spicy version of that series. And it's fascinating to see how far you've come since that initial interview that we had with you. What do you feel like is the most important thing you've learned along the way when publishing this kind of stuff?
That's a good. Oh, you gotta talk about your books. I guess that honestly probably is the most important thing, because I, like you were saying before, would much rather be writing or editing or literally doing anything than like pushing my books on social media. I hate it so much. I don't want to make TikTok videos. I don't want to be on here going, hey, look at me, here's my book, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's the worst. But you have to do it. And you have to be a little bit shameless about it. Like when I was promoting the Kickstarter, I was posting, I mean, literally every day in my stories, in my Instagram reels, in my TikTok stories, on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere. And I was like, God, people must be sick of this. And I'm sure some of them are, but like, you just have to do it. And you can't feel like bad about pushing it on people. You just gotta have to like elbow your way in there and make it happen.
It's kind of like at the in-person events, sitting next to this man is insane, because everyone who walks past his tent, he's like, hey, do you like books? Like a drug dealer. And I'm like, sir, you are headhunting. You are headhunting right now. He's like, they're buying my books. The amount of people who say, no, I don't. I don't. And then this man, Daniel, looks around and he's like, I don't read either. Do you need a paperweight? But the amount of sales he's gotten because they've stopped and walked up to his table, like, that's marketing, right? That's the stuff that we're like, I don't want to be that pushy person that's like, look at this thing that I did.
Yeah.
But like, you kind of have to, one, have that pride and like, hey, this is my art. Buy it from me. While also not being hyper obnoxious about it. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And it is difficult also, like with it, you know, being your art, and it's hard to ask people to pay for it, and especially pay like what it is worth, because I mean, I don't know, part of you just wants people to read it. You know what I mean? Like I have given so much stuff away for free because I'm like, just read it. I just want people to read it. But you also have to get them to pay for it, and just can't feel bad about that.
Right.
Yeah, there's so much some part of all of us that I think says, well, if somebody buys this and they absolutely hate it, then I'm kind of like swindling this person. And that's really not the case. You know, I mean, you got to understand that it probably took a long time to write the stuff you've written. Your time's not worthless, and it's important to have that confidence in yourself and say, hey, I wrote this, love it or hate it, here it is. You need to buy this because it's something that you can't go without. And I think that works really well for in-person events, and that is the thing I can't seem to capture like online whatsoever. That's the thing I can't figure out.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah,
there's just so much online that you have to sort of swim through to try and get to the club, and
And there's so many people who are just like, hey, this is the right way to do it. And you come to find that like every way that they take is different. There's no right way, right? Like we all get there how we get there.
Yeah. What are you guys up to right now? What are you working on?
Oh gosh. Daniel, do you want to?
Yes, I can absolutely pitch away here. So I've recently finished Odyssea, my second book in the Dreamcatcher series, which is a sapphic retelling of the Odyssey. And then my third book, which I cannot drop the name of at the moment, is currently 80,000 words in. So it is getting close to the end.
Awesome. And you can't
huh?
Name. Well, you said you can't drop the name, but you also didn't say anything about what it is. So it's top secret?
Yes, so it is the sequel to Odyssea, so without spoiling very much of what went on in the second one, it's a little bit hard to discuss at the moment, since it's not all ironed out.
Yep. So my sequel to Execration of Autumn, Isolation of Winter is set to release in July 18th, actually. And then I am 2 chapters away from finishing a contemporary romance that has been just kind of eating away at me. I'm super excited about it. It's called The Biker and the Book Dragon, and it should be out later this year. So we will see. And then I've got like 8 or 9 whips just floating around in the ether. So
that's awesome. 8 or 9. Yeah. Wow.
Well, it's crazy to think that when we talked to you the first time, I wasn't even published yet.
Wow.
And I don't think when we talked to you on the back in 2024, I still wasn't published because I didn't publish till like the 20th of April. So I the last time you talked to me, I was not published. I just had work out to people that I was like, hey, I might have a book eventually. So yeah, I've got another book coming out.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay. How was it writing contemporary romance?
I absolutely love it. I wrote over the last 3 days, I've written some like 1,200 words or something. Or 12, no. I wrote 4,100 words yesterday. It's coming. It's good. I really enjoy it. Like I love fantasy. Fantasy is probably always going to be just like a passion for me, but romance is kind of what I read. So I love the pining, the yearning, the banter, the like, we're not gonna date. So being in those tropes just comes easy. And I know like reading Salt, the pining between those 2 characters, I just ate it up. I was like, oh, I love this so much. I love this so much. So I know you get what I mean when I'm like the banter back and forth of like, do they hate each other? Do they like each other? What is going on here? So that's where I'm at in the contemporary romance, is the banter of the back and forth of like, I shouldn't like you, but I really do.
That's the fun stuff. Like I never really intended to write romance, and I'm actually sort of moving away from it a bit with the current book I'm working on. And so when I decided to write it in Salt, all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is so fun. Just having these 2 people just like, yeah. It's fine.
Well, and we're going to wrap it up here on this so we don't go well over on the time we quoted you. But I am DL Golden. My book, Origins and Odyssea, are out right now on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited.
I'm SF Rogers. Execration of Autumn is available on Amazon, KU. Pre-order is up for Isolation of Winter. Daniel and I will both be at Tremendicon in Springfield, Missouri next weekend. Make sure you come see us. I'm wearing a cape. I'm going to be totally dressed up, y'all. It's going to be great. Come see us all 3 days. We'll sell you books. Daniel will badger you about whether you need a paperweight or not. So.
And Liz, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find your stuff one more time so they can get all that good stuff that you've been putting out.
Yes, so /Magic is currently up for pre-order. It comes out August 19th. The Thalassic series, which is my Spicy Dystopian Waterworld series, is available everywhere. Amazon, KU, other online retailers, my website. Tales of Mischief and Fuckery just launched on Kickstarter. You can't buy that version anymore, but you can pre-order the retail version through my website. think that's it.
Well,
Thank
we have and continue to be the Author's Chaos. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks so much.
Bye.